We will get started in just a moment here. And as usual, we will have some time for questions at the end. This week's going to be a little bit different, though. A little different than our usual call. And I'm going to record this. I'll make sure it goes in the Ember portal. This one I'm probably going to post widely too, because I've had some people interested in this topic. This is one I get asked about a lot, and I want to make sure that this video gets out there. And if anybody needs help with finances in their business, with bookkeeping, with anything like that, that they're able to get the help that they need with it. I know this is super important just from firsthand experience running a carpet cleaning business myself, having my finances be a total mess. I had years where I was damn near unprofitable, barely able to pay myself. And there were years when it was a lot better. So I wish I'd gotten control of it a lot faster. I know that talking with clients, finances, often one of the biggest things that you guys are dealing with too, in terms of waiting on payments to come in. Residential clients coming in is one thing, but you start getting commercial jobs, property managers, and they're taking 30 days, 60 days, 90 days to pay you. Sometimes that factors in too. Plus you got truck notes, chemicals, maybe payments on equipment, all kinds of stuff going on. And then once you factor in employees, it's even crazier. So all that said, I'm excited this week. I've invited my buddy Neal, who's an expert in the tax and finance space. He's going to join us today. Neal is with Tax Sherpa, and he's going to share with us his bookkeeping buddy system, which is going to help you get your bookkeeping done in under 10 minutes a month using AI. Neal McSpadden is super, super smart in this area. There's a reason I invited him to this call. I've had people ask for this type of information. And in the past, I'm not the right person to ask for this. Okay. Just to be upfront with you. I'm the guy who's made every mistake in the book with his carpet cleaning business. I'm the guy who's made every finance mistake in the book. I'm not going to sit here and preach like I'm an expert now on how to do it the right way. I've learned a lot of things over the years, but one of the things I've learned is to rely on experts for the stuff that I'm not very good at. Neal's one of those experts. So I'm super happy to have him here today. Neal, thanks for joining us. What I'm going to do today is I'm going to open up the floor for you to just take it away and show us what you've got. The folks here are all cleaning business owners. The folks who are watching this video and the recording afterwards are also cleaning business owners. Either carpet cleaning, house cleaning, maybe window cleaning, pressure washing, air duct cleaning, oriental rug cleaning, mostly residential cleaning. We have folks who are also doing commercial, mix of residential, but these are all folks who are small business owners, might be owner operators, might have a small team, couple trucks on the road, dealing with day-to-day expenses and trying to grow a more profitable business. And I know you've got stuff here that can help them out. So I'm super excited to have you here. Thanks for being on the call, Neal.
Yeah, absolutely. Happy to be here. Appreciate the intro there. Just to give everybody a little bit of background, I'm Neal. I founded Tax Sherpa back in 2019. I got into the tax world, the finance world through my own problems. So I was getting nasty letters from the IRS, and then they ended up garnishing my paycheck way back when that was, the garnishment finally got my ass in the gear in 2009. But that's how I got into this whole thing. So I've been a small business guy my whole life. So I'm right there with you. And I've had plenty of carpet cleaning, office cleaning, pressure washing. I haven't had any oriental rug cleaning clients, but I've had many clients in the related industries, pest control, all that kind of stuff, security. So I founded Tax Sherpa, and the big mission is to actually save Americans $1 trillion in taxes. And the way we do that is with proper tax planning and entity structuring and all that fancy stuff. However, that's like the last step in the process. The first step in the process is figuring out where the money is. And so every year I get clients coming in and they say, here are my bank statements. It's like, I don't need bank statements. What I need is a financial statement. And the financial statement is the summary of everything that happened, right? Profits, losses, expenses, trucks, all that stuff. My favorite one this year was a guy came in, he's a painter. He gave me a yellow sheet of paper, like a yellow legal pad sheet. And it was scribbled on the top was revenue, was whatever, expenses were his subs, and the materials. And that was the information that I got from. And the best part was they didn't add up. So it turns out he was double counting his paint supplies costs with his subcontractors because he paid the subcontractors inside out. So all that is to say, I'm very familiar with what's the polite word? The disorganization of small business, having been there myself. So what I ended up doing was, now that we have AI and it's able to process information, what I did was I put together a couple free tools to process all this stuff, mostly for myself, but it also works for everybody else. So that's how the bookkeeping buddy system came to be. I call it the 10-minute money date that you do once a month. And the series of events is very straightforward. It takes longer to explain than it does to do. You take your bank statement or your credit card statement, either one. You upload it to this AI system, which I'll show you, and then it's going to spit out a table. You copy the table into a Google Sheet that I've already pre-formatted and everything, and then that's it. So it'll spit out a profit and loss separated by month that's automatically categorized. And you can change the categories if you want, because the AI is not perfect. It's not going to necessarily know that Smith's is a chemical place versus a gas station versus a whatever. So you might have to do a little bit of tweaking of the categories, but that's really it. So I was thinking that I would just show you guys how it works, if that's cool with you guys.
Let's do it. Should be able
Uh,
to share screen. If you can't, it'll ask me to allow. And
Okay, so let me see if I can figure out how to do this, because I don't use Google Meet very much.
no worries. Yeah. No, there's a little share screen button at the bottom. It looks like a laptop with an arrow pointing up.
Yeah. Yep. Which tab do I do? There we go. Okay. All right. So you should see Quick and Dirty Ledger System V3.
Yep.
Everybody see that?
Yeah, I see it.
Okay. So this is ChatGPT. So has everybody used ChatGPT by this point? Everybody familiar? Thumbs up. Yeah. Okay. So this is a custom GPT that I created. And even if you have a free account, you can still use it. Sometimes what happens with the free accounts is you'll get like limited on the amount of data you can run through it. So sometimes that's an issue, but you still use this without any sign up fees or anything. I have a corporate account on it. So yeah, I pay them plenty of money, but this is how it works. So you go to the system, and I'll give you guys a link obviously, and you upload a bank statement. Let's see. Yeah, I was looking at one earlier. So here is a bank statement. Okay. So I don't know if you can see the little, oh, it's not showing up. If I type, does it show up? I might be in the wrong window. Let me see here. I'll try present something else. Let's just try the whole window. Okay.
Now I see the statement.
Okay. I think I had another window, another tab open with the same title or something. Anyway, so I just dragged a PDF statement that I got from my bank. This one's back from September. And I'll say, I'd like to be nice to the AI because when they take over, I want to be on the good list. So I will say, please process this bank statement and hit enter. Now, sometimes the thing about AI is that every time it's different. So sometimes it'll ask you some questions. Sometimes it won't. And sometimes it'll just spit out a table. And so it's giving me a preview of all this stuff, card purchases, whatever. So it's saying it found 42 transactions. Now, the thing about bank statements that you guys might not be aware of, because I see a lot of different bank statements, banks are totally different as far as how they present information. So that's one of the difficulties with doing this kind of extraction. But the AI is usually smart enough to figure it out. So next step, before I generate a paginated TSV, which is a tab separated value table with categories assigned and bank logic increase, decrease columns, blah, blah, I need your confirmation. Should I process this? Yes, I want you to upload this process. And it's going to do its best, right? I break it into pages of 30 a piece, just because sometimes if you go too long, it'll crap out. Or if you have a very long bank statement with a whole lot of transactions, sometimes, it'll lose its way in the middle of the feed. So if you do it like 30 by 30, it generally does a pretty good job. So it's got 30 there and it did the other 12. Okay, great. So then I have this sheet. And let me make a copy because this is actually the master sheet. And it tells you instructions on what to do. This was a checking account. So all I do is I copy, I go here, I go to checking, and I paste. And then I go down here, I copy the next batch, and I paste. And then I go to over here. Now, this particular account is a spending account of mine, so there's no income, which is correct. But it found advertising, it found bank fees, it found contractors, government fees, other payroll fees, software, taxes, and utilities. Now, is that 100% correct? In my case, that's about 95% correct. Now, I just happen to know that because I've looked at my own statements a lot. But when you go through, you can go back and you can change the categories in two different ways. So one is right here. You can just change the type of thing. Or in the GPT itself, you can say, let's say Slack is not software. Let's say you categorize Slack as a travel expense, and then should say, okay, yeah. So now it's marked as travel because for whatever reason, for me, that's travel, right? Everybody's business is different, right? So what's true for me is not necessarily going to be true for you. But if you work with the AI a little bit and do that tweaking of the categories, it'll just do whatever you say. And then you can copy and paste that and it'll change how the categorization shows up over here on the P&L. Now, I've only put in 1 month here, so there's only a 9, which is September. But as you fill this out, as you do this month after month, you can match that thing spreads out quite a bit. And I have tried my best to make this system as easy as possible. And the only objection I see remaining is that A, it's free. B, it takes literally minutes a month, unless you have just crazy complex stuff. So that leaves C, is that a lot of people don't want to face the numbers in the bank account. There's an intimidation factor about what's going on in the business, but that's the beginning of figuring out what to do, because the biggest mistake that people make when it comes to their books and finance and everything is that they just look at it and they say, I need to do that for taxes at the end of the year, so I'll get to it in July of next year. But waking up and just seeing if there's money in the account or not is not a great plan. And the beginning of making better decisions is knowing where you are and what has happened. So once you get through this part, as you get more advanced, there are techniques to looking at how things have evolved over time. Let's say I'm looking at advertising. So rule of thumb, customer acquisition costs should be a factor of 6 or less, meaning that if I'm spending $1,000 in advertising of whatever sort, what I want is to generate $6,000 of lifetime value from that advertising. Now, doesn't necessarily have to be right away, right? Because you could have an installment contract that, takes however long, or like Reuben was talking about, you have a commercial client, they're paying you net 60, right? So that money might not show up for a while. But over time, you have to make sure that the money you're investing in customer acquisition, whether it's sales, whether it's commissions, whether it's marketing spend, whether it's going to conferences, whatever, that acquisition cost has to pay for itself and then has to pay for everything else also. So you need to be making at least 6 times your money on whatever that is. But you don't know that, whether you're succeeding at that or not, unless you're actually looking at your numbers. Okay. And depending on your revenues, there's different guidelines as far as what percentages should go towards what expenses and all that kind of stuff. Reuben says agree 100%. And so this is the first element of the bookkeeping buddy system. And you saw, how long did that take? If it wasn't for me talking through the whole thing, that took
Literally
45
seconds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A minute, maybe. I don't know.
No, that was so fast. One of the reasons that I put off doing this in my business was for so long was like, I waited and waited, and then there was
Yeah.
so much data to look at. I knew
Right.
it was take a while to dig through it. And I was just like getting more and more
Yep.
anxious about looking at my numbers. If it had been this easy, I could just drop my bank statement in, I would have probably done this from the beginning.
Yeah. And I've had people tell me, oh, so I'm actually doing a webinar on this whole system tomorrow. My sister is actually coming to the webinar. And part of the thing with dealing with family is I don't really get on her case too much because I don't charge her whatever. She buys me bacon, but it'll be June and she'll be like, yeah, I need to do my books so we can do the taxes. So like, the ones for last year. Yeah. It's like, okay. And if you have a really complicated situation, it can take time, right? But if you have a single checking account, it's that easy. If you have a checking and a credit card account, there's a separate pasting space for credit cards, because the way credit card statements work is the opposite of the way a bank statement works. But you just tell the AI, hey, this is a credit card, and it'll just spit it out correctly, and you paste it in there, and then it'll put everything together at the end. So
That's super useful. And by the way, if you guys are not using credit cards in your business, you really should be. Big fans of using Chase Bank, American Express. They've both been really good to me from a business credit card perspective, have given me pretty big lines, even on newer businesses in the past. So really like them. If you don't have a federal EIN for your business, you need to go and get that number. And Neal, what else? I don't even know what else is involved with getting a business credit profile created, but that's a big focus in your business.
Yeah. For business credit cards, you open the LLC, you get a tax ID number, and then you go to the bank and you say, hey, and these days, most of it's online anyway. Even if you go to the bank, they'll just pull up the website in front of you. and so they'll say, does the business exist? Yes. Great. And then how's your credit? If it's above whatever their number is, 680, 700, 720, something like that, they'll give you tens of thousands of dollars worth of credit. pretty much off the bat. If your credit's bad, you want to fix that first, and that's a whole different process. But yeah, so step one, actually look at your number. And I'm trying to remove as much excuse as possible, right? Takes it's free. It takes less than 5 minutes per month. And that's even if you have the credit card, you have to do two different things and you get out the statement. So the next element is to start looking at what is going on, right? Now that gets a little more complicated. So this is what I call the clear path. And right now it's still a spreadsheet. I am working on an actual app where you have a dashboard and you can just upload things directly. But for right now, it's a spreadsheet. So you have 5 basic things that can happen in a business in terms of money in and money out. So there's revenue, right? We want more of that. There's cost of goods or cost of service. So cost of service would be like if you are paying somebody per job, right? Where the amount you pay them is tied to the actual sale of the job. CAC is customer acquisition cost. OpEx people is going to be people you paid not by the job. So it could be hourly employees, it could be office staff, it could be anything like that. And then OpEx systems is everything that's not the other stuff. It's going to be your website. It's going to be your chemical buys. It's going to be the equipment that you buy, everything, all the systems that go together to make the business work. Right. And once you know what the numbers actually are, then you have to assign them to whatever categories are appropriate. So let's say January is around the corner. So let's say in January, we collect $8,000, right? And I pay my cleaners, I don't know. If you collect $8,000 worth of cleaning jobs, how much would you pay people to do that work? I know it's going to
Ideally 20, 30%, maybe 40% at the
Okay.
most.
Let's say 25%. So let's say 2,000. Okay. And then we already talked a little bit about the customer acquisition cost. Let's say I've spent 1,000 on all things marketing, people. I probably don't have an admin staff at this level. So it's just me and then my cleaners. So I'm going to say 0 there. And systems, I don't know, 1,000, right? So what it does is it calculates obviously your net, because this is not including you, right? So this is the net, the seller discretionary income, or the EBITDA, or whatever acronym you want to use. This is the money is the owner have to spend in order to live my life and then continue the business, right? And then, so what it'll do is it'll give you a prorated total for the year based on the history so far. So if we're just doing January, it could be whatever times 12, right? But as you fill out throughout the year, it gets the amount of projection that has to make is less. And so it'll narrow down into a closer and closer approximation. And so it says, okay, my COGS or cost to service factor is 25%. That's okay. For cost of services, generally 25% is the most we want to be seeing spend. For cost of goods, where you're selling material things, generally 50% and under is what we want to see, 65 tops, which a lot of e-commerce type businesses violate because they are just squeezed on margins. And so my real revenue, the money I have to spend on stuff once the job is done, is now 72,000 for the year. If we continue the whole year at this pace, I'm going to spend 12,000 on acquisition. I'm going to spend 0 on people apparently, and 12,000 on systems. Okay. So how much profit do I get? How much owner compensation do I get? Because those are two different things in the tax world. And how much should I be saving for taxes? So those are the 3 kind of outputs. And so
that's pretty crazy. That gives you such a good outlook on where you're at for the year. And if this is going to fill out and give you better projections as you get into February, March, April, May, June.
Yeah.
Think of how far ahead of the game you are versus doing your numbers at tax time, looking back to see what's left.
Looking 15 months ago, say, oh, that's what happened.
I've literally done that before and found out I had $11,000 in profit in my business. And I had been paying myself more than that during the year, which meant I had no money and I owed money to the taxes.
Yes.
Looking forward like this is so important to you guys. Super important.
Yeah. And so based on how much revenue you're in, there's different bands that we look at as far as like how much these different percentages should be. And this is what I call tranche 1. And so the benchmark we're comparing to is 5% profit, 10% owner comp, 15% for taxes, 15% for customer acquisition costs, 5% for people, and 10% for systems. So now here's my actuals, right? So 5 versus 5, I'm right on target there. 48 versus 50, that's looking good. 14 versus 15, pretty close. 17 versus 15, we're still That's still reasonably close. And 0 versus 5, that's obviously lower. And 17 versus 10, that's starting to look high, right? So immediately the questions in your mind should be, am I spending too much on systems? Do I need to get a better deal on my truck? Do I need to look for a different chemical supplier? Do I need to do whatever? Your business is your business. You obviously know the things that are going on, but it's all the key to all of business. And yeah, I'd say write this down. Do more of what is working and do less of what is not working. If you do that over and over every month, then you will eventually do better, right? Because you can't not, but you have to know what the numbers are in order to be able to make those decisions. So the purpose of this is, yes, I use this for all my tax clients and we try to guide them and we make different tax decisions so that we can take some of this money back and we don't pay. But the real larger mission is run a better business, make more money for yourself, and all of these things that I say, I've been guilty of. So I don't want to sound like I'm talking from on high or anything. I've made every one of these mistakes, but I eventually learned. So entrepreneurs have a real bad habit of reinvesting in their business because they're eternally optimistic. So if we just get this one job, or if we just sign this office complex, or if we get this new equipment, or if we do this, or if we do that, things will change, and maybe they will. But we are so optimistic that we overspend in all of these different ways and end up living in entrepreneurial poverty. Like you make enough to scrape by, but then, another year goes by and the bank account is still the same.
Yeah. Can I point out one of the main areas where I see people doing this? Just from knowing carpet cleaners over the years, having been one myself, having made the same mistake, and also I've been to some of y'all's place of business. I've seen your offices. I know a lot about some of you guys. Equipment is one of the places where I see folks spend a lot of money because it's very satisfying to buy a new piece of equipment to get into a new niche. If you want to get into countertops or natural stone floors or something like that, it feels good to invest in those things and to want to expand your business. But sometimes I have seen, not everybody, I've seen people invest in that stuff when they don't have a clear plan to get those jobs.
Right.
And what happens is they end up with a garage or a warehouse full of equipment that gets used once a year or less. It's just collecting dust. And it's an idea that they had that gets left along the way, but they're still paying for it. They're still paying for that equipment because it might've been financed or put on a credit card or something. So be wary of that. When you're thinking about making equipment investments, especially to get into a new niche, have a plan to bring in those jobs. Come talk with me if you need a plan to do that, by the way, because we help with that. We absolutely help people expand into other areas if that's what they're interested in doing. We'll help put a solid plan together to get those customers and actually cash flow that investment, right?
Yeah. Let's say we have the same month, but instead of $1,000 in systems, we've got $200, right? Now I'm only spending 3% versus my 10% budget. And now I've got some money to spend. Okay, what do I want to do? Do I want to go buy some equipment? Can I leverage that new equipment into either offering a new line of things, or maybe my old stuff's just getting old and I need to replace it or whatever? But you can start to make those educated decisions, which is the whole point of this. And just knowing what is going on in your business from a factual standpoint rather than the gut feeling. Because every small business owner in America is working all the time, right? There's 168 hours in the week. Hopefully you're sleeping at least 40 of them. I don't know, whatever it is. But the rest of the time you're either at work doing the job or you are generally thinking about the job. And that's just the reality of small business. And you're constantly in it, but because you're constantly in it, you don't have perspective when you step back unless you take that time and actually do this work. That's the goal. And as far as tax strategy, you could wrap this into an actual meetings tax strategy and take some extra deductions that way. But that's a bit beyond the scope of what we're talking about here. But that's the whole system. So you upload the statement, copy, paste, take a look at your numbers, assign them to whatever categories are appropriate, and then ask yourself questions.
You guys have a whole year of data just about right now. If you've got bank statements from January through November of this year, you could go ahead and get a jump start on this going into 2026, you guys. If you're thinking about what you're going to owe for taxes, anything like that, it might be a good idea to just get an idea now, take a quick glance at it. You could do it for free in these spreadsheets using this GPT, find out what the numbers look like now before tax time gets here and slaps you in the face. Because it's happened to me year after year. back when I didn't have control of my numbers, I would get a much bigger tax bill than I expected. Sometimes there'd be
Oh,
nothing. And it's just, man, it's painful. I've had 5-figure tax bills at times when I didn't have that kind of money to pay in.
mhm.
You know, you get a bill like that and it freaking hurts. And as an entrepreneur, sometimes you take a punch and it feels hard to get back up again. This is one of those things where you can only take so many punches financially before you figure out, I got to get a plan in place for this. Now, just so you guys know, compared to the way I used to run the carpet cleaning business, the finances over there, the way we run companies now, Kelly and I, much, much different. We have a very close handle on the books. We know exactly where we're at profit margin wise. We keep an eye on these numbers and we forecast with them so that we actually know how much do we need to spend to bring in the amount of customers that we need to hit the growth targets that we have for this year. How much can we afford to spend on growing our team as we do this? Like we look at all these numbers now in advance rather than looking at them in retrospect after the fact. And I think that's been a really important change for us. One of the reasons that we've been able to grow companies a lot faster now is just because we learned those lessons. So if you guys are struggling through this right now, I really encourage you, do this exercise. Like Neal, if you don't mind, share the links with us.
Yep,
Take
absolutely.
your statements, drop them in here, check it out and see what you find in there. It might help you out. It might set you up for success going into tax time in a couple months here.
Yeah, and your accountant will love you, by the way. So there's that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll drop the links into the chat. And obviously people watching our replay and everything will have all that.
Thank you so much for this.
So
Yeah.
you can share this,
Question. Yeah.
this worksheet will be shared as well, or
Yep.
well,
Yeah,
that's
but who's got questions? Anybody been through it financially and had a
Oh
big
my
tax
God.
bill or anything like that?
Yeah, tax is something sometimes we want to try to forget about that exists, but it does. It's like looming. And then the time goes by and all of a sudden, oh my God, tax time. And then you have to scramble and get your stuff. And sometimes we don't even want to look at our numbers. Have you?
Yeah.
Have you ever done it? You just want to make sure there's enough money in the bank to keep it going.
Sometimes
Yes.
it's scared to even look at the bank. I know what
Yes.
that's.
And then sometimes it goes low and you're like, oh my gosh, it's scary. It's funny.
Yeah.
And-
Yeah. And
Mhm.
yeah, absolutely. And I feel like I have solved the time problem and I feel like I have solved the expense of doing this problem because these are all free tools. I have not solved I don't want to face what's actually going on in my business problem.
Yeah.
Aside from just saying that as you do this, as you keep your eye on the ball as an owner rather than working in the business, your business will get better and make more money.
Yes. And I think it's important to follow people who are leading by example here. If you look at other people who have successful companies, this is a focus for them.
Yeah.
Finance is a pillar of their business. It's not just marketing. It's not just getting employees out on the road. It's also, are we making money? Because this is how you attract investment in your business. This is how you attract a buyer for your business in the future. Is if you have financials like this, if you're able to get your books together 3 years in a row, you've got good profit. And then one day you want to get out of your business and you can show all of this stuff, you're going to get a much nicer offer than somebody who doesn't have any books, has to pull everything together at the last minute. And having sold my business, I can tell you, it really helps to have these numbers on hand. By the time I went to sell, I had all of my books in order, mostly because I had faced tax issues at the federal level and at the state level at that point.
Yeah.
I had issues with sales taxes at one point in my business. That was
Yeah.
really scary.
Oh, I have the same thing right now, actually.
Yeah. Yeah.
I will get behind, and then I don't know. I had an accountant that was working with me, and then suddenly she didn't do it, and then I was like, "Wait, I thought you were in charge of that." And then
That'll
You
show up
know-
in this exercise. If you're not making those payments or something's behind here, it should show up in here. You should be able to throw up a red flag and know that something's off. For me, that ended up costing me a lot of money. It was ultimately a $12,000 or $13,000 sales tax bill that I needed to pay, but with fines, with penalties, it ended up costing me over $25,000 to pay that back.
crazy.
I had a client.
There's
I-
no forgiveness, right? Like
It
they,
depends on the state. So I had a client years ago in Florida and they did commercial office cleaning. And so in the state of Florida, residential cleaning is not subject to sales tax, but commercial cleaning is.
Oh, wow.
And they did not know that. And they didn't inform us that this was an issue. So we thought everything was fine. And then they got audited by the state. And this whole thing came to light. So you're doing commercial cleaning. You are not exempt. You owe us sales taxes for the past 5 years or whatever it was. And I think for them, it was a 6-figure thing, but they were able to get some of the penalties forgiven because it wasn't like intentional and they got somebody who was willing to work with them. So at that point, it really depends on who you get at the state level.
Yes. Some it depends what agent you get, because some will try to work with you, some will try to play real hard.
Yeah.
I had somebody at my door, like they have an envelope and everything ready, and they're like, "Oh, you didn't pay sales tax this year, and you owe this, and you have to pay something."
Yep.
Because I was like, "Look, are you gonna shut me down?" She said, "No, she's like, as long as you like work with us." Because I was like,
You know what they told me? So I was on the phone. I owed them 25 grand at that point, and they
Wow.
basically told me I had 30 days to pay up, or they were going to send the sheriff's department to my house to come collect me.
Oh my God.
arrest you.
Wisconsin.
Oh, crazy.
So yeah, it is state by state, and they are not screwing around with that kind of stuff. You stay on top.
Oh, it's
guys.
scary.
So how do you pay it back if you're in jail? I never understood that part.
Yeah. I got back in the van and I ran the business super lean over the next 30 days. And it lit such a fire under my ass. I paid the entire bill in 30 days.
Wow.
25 grand in cash, paid them, floated all my bills on credit cards, and just got myself out of it.
Wow.
It was a great time in our marriage, guys.
Yeah.
You suck it
So-
up.
The fact that Kelly's still here is honestly a
You
miracle.
could turn around and say, why don't you make 25 grand every month?
Exactly.
Motivated you, huh? Like,
Yeah.
wow.
Dude,
Yeah.
Neil, this is so helpful. You guys
It's
have any
so-
other questions for Neil?
Reuben, it sounds like it's almost the same problem. Like what you're saying is almost the same things I'm having, like over time. Like even 23, I haven't paid some tax on there. 24, I put an extension, I passed that.
Super.
It's great. It's like nerve wracking, because I'm thinking, okay, it's gonna be done by September. And then no. And then the deadline passed. And all of a sudden, and I had
Once you get to where in your mind, you're like, I want to be out of this business someday. Maybe I'd like to sell it, leave it to somebody else, retire. I want to be able to have some flexibility. That financial picture becomes super important because you're
Yeah.
going to have to fix all of that stuff before you're able to move on with your life. Otherwise, you're going to end up with a business that's messy and it's easier to just shoot down than to do anything else with. I don't want to see it happen to anybody. I'd rather see you guys, because these are life skills, really. If you can figure out how to get the finances together in your carpet cleaning business, this is a difficult business. You guys have a lot of costs. There's a lot of costs to running a carpet cleaning business. If you can figure it out in this business, this is going to serve you well. You might have other businesses in the future. You might have more profitable companies in the future, right? But you'll learn from this experience of getting your numbers together, knowing what's what, knowing how to look at these numbers on a monthly basis, and then paying the actual taxes you owe and all that stuff. It's good practice for you. That's one of the reasons I loved owning a carpet cleaning business, is because it was like an MBA in real time. Like I had to figure out how to run a business, or they were going to come get my ass and arrest me for not paying taxes. Like it was trial by fire.
Yeah. So something you just said is really critical, is that not every, but almost every small business person gets into the business because you're good at doing a thing, right? So you're good at cleaning. You're a good, I don't know, chef. So you can become a personal chef and have that business, or whatever. You're a good plumber. You go into business being a plumber. The doing of the thing is a different set of skills than running a business, providing that good a service.
True.
And Michael Gerber wrote a famous series of business books called The E-Myth, which is, that's the entire book. I think there's 3 or 4 versions of this book, because primarily small business people did not go to business school, right? You just got into it however your life went. You didn't necessarily learn how to manage a balance sheet, but they do teach that in business school for people who are going into the corporate world. We're going to try to get into executive levels of Fortune 500 companies, but none of us were taught that. I'm part of what these tools do is give you that edge of learning those things so that you can operate your business like an owner or like a manager, rather than just doing the business every day.
100%. Yeah. 100% agree. Guys, nobody's going to come and do this for you necessarily. If you pay somebody, they'll help you run the numbers, but they'll charge you through the nose. If you're just getting started, if you just want to get a clear picture of where you're at today, I think this is a great system to use. You don't have to pay for it. You don't have to, there's no subscription fee. And honestly, if you don't like the numbers, delete the damn spreadsheet and get your act together and try to get in 30 days.
Yeah.
But this is such a good exercise. I really believe everybody should do this, especially coming up on the end of the year.
You know what happens is, like in the past, sometimes I would have accountants in the past, and I would leave them the books. I just think they're doing, and then all of a sudden they start calculating, and all of a sudden I had a bill of like thousands. Like all of a sudden, accountant's like, "Oh, you owe $5,000." I was like, "I just got the account." So like, "Oh, we have to go through all your papers."
It's work.
I've had the same experience. And then I've had where I didn't agree with the numbers they came up with on my taxes too. So they wanted me to pay them for the work, and I disagreed with how much in taxes I owed. So it really paid. You stay on top of this stuff yourself, you have a better idea going into
Yeah.
it.
So,
Yeah.
just so everybody's aware, there's three different zones of business financials. So, from $0 of revenue up to 150,000, it does not pay for itself to pay somebody to do your books. Because I'll tell you, we charge typically $500 a month to do bookkeeping. And there's just not enough money in the business to justify that at that 150 and lower. Once you get to 250 and above, then you have to have good books because your tax return changes and you have to include the balance sheet and everything has to be reconciled and you need professional level books. So between 150 and 250 is like a transition zone. You have to make that determination of when you take that leap. That's up to you.
That's a lot of people in the cleaning world. A lot of them
Yeah.
are in the zone making that leap.
Yeah. And then once you get to 1 million and up, then it's time to hire a fractional CFO who can be in your business either every day or at least several times a week and actually managing your numbers and figuring out the financial forecasts and doing all those kinds of things. And the transition there from the 250 level up to the million is like that 750 to $1 million band. So somewhere in there, you start to go the fractional CFO route. But we're being Charles, right?
I do.
So Charles won't get on the phone. He does CFO stuff. He will not get on the phone with anybody making less than $1 million.
Yeah.
And that's because he's dealing with that problem. The issue though, is that 88% of the 36 million businesses in America make 250 or less.
Yeah.
So 88% of small businesses or 80% of businesses in America either are not big enough to be able to afford to pay somebody to do professional books, or they're in that transition zone and they need something. And
Yeah.
this will work. So
Kill it.
it's not going to book your receivables. It's just strict cash in, cash out kind of accounting, but that's what most people need. So I hope all of you use it and are able to get better clarity into your business situations and make better decisions and grow your business like gangbusters.
If people want to reach you, Neal, how can they reach out to you?
Yeah, just email me, neal@taxsherpa.com. Obviously, we're on the web, we're on YouTube, we're on all the places, but just email is typically best.
Okay. Sounds good. I'll drop that in the chat right here. We'll include that in the video as well. If anybody needs help with this stuff, please reach out to Neal. Run these numbers yourself, see what it looks like for your business. If you have questions, reach out to us, let us know. Really hope this was helpful for folks. We're going to post the recording everywhere. So, after you watch the recording, if you have questions again, reach out. I can put you in touch with Neal if we need to. We'll get you links to these documents if you didn't get them during the call today. Man, I wish you guys the best of luck with this because finances will make or break you, right? You're either making money or you're losing money. And if you're losing money, you better find out fast, right?
Yeah.
All right.
So question, because you know what? I just have
one more.
an Apple Pro and I don't really know how to, I'm trying to copy and paste. Can you send these links to me like an email or it's going to come to me or?
Yeah, we can send those out.
Okay. Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah. Cause I want to use this. And Neal, what do? You do accounting? Is that what you, or you?
Yeah. So, we do bookkeeping, we do tax filing, but our biggest value add is tax strategy. So we work with small businesses to save you thousands, tens of thousands of dollars a year, depending on your situation.
I see. Because I found this like mind blowing, this thing with the ChatGPT. Like, he's just ChatGPT is still new for me. Just the fact that you could ask it anything and then know it's amazing.
Well,
It's crazy.
I'll tell you, I've had other accountants when I tell people you can do your books in 5 minutes, 10 minutes a month. I've had other accountants tell me that's BS. There's no possible way you can do that. But
It's crazy.
it's just done. And the fact that they haven't updated their mind in terms of the new AI world, that's on you, buddy.
It's almost going to put them out of business.
I think somebody, Neal, might have been you, was telling me that there's hardly anybody going into accounting right now. There's a big lack of folks going into the accounting field. Older accountants are retiring. They don't have kids to leave their business to. Their kids aren't interested in it and they're not going to school for this.
Yep.
So this industry is taking a big hit. AI is almost certainly going to play a role in bridging that gap. So if you're not using AI to work on your finances right now, and as we end 2025, I'm willing to bet within the next couple of years, a lot of us will be. This will be totally normal.
Because I wish something like this would, for example, alert me. For example, sales taxes due. Do your taxes now. Pay this now. Have a system. Because sometimes we get caught up when you're working, we forget, we put it off. But something that'll force you to get these things done.
What I would recommend for sales taxes, you'll usually get a sales tax notice when you need to fill out that form. If you don't have a notice that comes to you from the state, set one for yourself because the filing is due For me, it was due every month. It started out, I had to file taxes once a quarter for sales tax, and then it was every month because we were making so much they wanted their money every month.
Oh,
I had to do a monthly report. I would set an alarm for myself that I had to do the report. And then if I had these numbers, it would be a lot easier for me to go in and fill out that report every month because the books are already done. I can just take the numbers from these spreadsheets, drop them into my sales tax filing, and I'm done.
Yeah.
Make it a lot easier. That's what I recommend you guys do.
you did by yourself? Like you just did it, not your accountant?
No, I did the sales tax filings myself, which was part of the issue because when you do it yourself, it's on you to either file it or
Yes.
not.
Yeah, I had the account.
There were some months in my business where things were on fire. I was losing employees. Things were not going very well. And I just didn't do my filings. I didn't make my payments, and they will certainly come and contact you if you're not paying your taxes.
Yeah.
If you're paying them and you suddenly stop one day, they're going to come ask for that money.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. Don't be like me.
The states are broke, and so they will come after whatever they can.
What should I do right now? Because like I used to have an accountant like working with me H&R Block, but I feel like there's a few points where she missed payments and at her time, whatever, it's gotten by. But like now I'm a little behind. So I need to get these things done now. What should I do like right now?
So the thing to do right now is for whatever months you're behind, just throw your statements into the quick and dirty ledger system. Just work the system for those months. And then you'll know how much revenue you have. And I'm assuming that all of the revenue that you make is subject to sales tax. But then you'll be able to sell more.
Most of it. Because sometimes I work in New York. And guess what? You know what? I'm really mad. Sometimes people are like, I'll sell you, I'll Venmo you, I'll Cash App. And then that's mixed up. And that's like, even though it's business, it's mixed up with that. And it's not really being.
That's actually a good thing to stop and mention because this is something I've struggled with in my business. When I started getting payments from people and charging sales tax, I actually had a few people say to me, what if I just Zelled you? What if I just paid you cash? What if we just I don't want to pay the tax. I don't believe that kind of thing. And it was really tempting for me to just agree with the customer and just say, you know what? Yeah, sure. Whatever. I'm happy to get paid. Refuse to do that. Every single payment through my carpet cleaning business, it had to be through credit card, check, or cash that literally got deposited to the bank that day. Every single dollar went through the business, and every single dollar we collected sales tax on it. I didn't make any exceptions for anybody. It was just one of those hard rules where I was like, I can't not collect tax from you. Otherwise it's coming out of my pocket.
Why would you put your ass on the line for $200 of a cleaning fee?
Yeah.
And by the way, are any of you guys in Atlanta?
Not on this call, I don't think.
Not
No.
on this call. Okay.
Yeah. Is Atlanta got some particular issues?
No, I just need some cleaning.
That'd be great. I might know somebody in Atlanta. I could hook you up with them. But yeah,
What I really need is actually a maid that will clean up stuff and do dishes and do all the cleaning.
Oh,
it's hard to find a good maid service.
It's hard to find someone good. Sometimes you got to get an independent person.
All right, Neal, we should probably let you go. I don't want to take too much of your time tonight. I know it's late where you are. I really appreciate you being on this call.
Yeah.
Really thank you everybody for being here. Great questions. I hope this was helpful, and we'll drop links to everything in the portal. I'll get this out to everybody so that you have copies of it, and go run your numbers. Let's make 2026 a profitable year for you.
There you go.
Yes. Thank you.
All right. Thanks everybody. We'll see you next time.
Thank you very much.
All right. Bye.